We all think we know the story of Cinderella, right? The pumpkin, the glass slipper, the whole shebang. But what if we looked at it not just as a fairy tale, but as a historical artifact? That's what we're going to do today. We are performing an autopsy, so to speak, on a 19th century book that told this entire epic story for the price of a single penny.
And here it is. This is the actual cover of the book we're diving into. It was published by a company called George Routledge and Sons, and these little books were designed to be cheap, super accessible, and, probably read to pieces by kids. It's not just a story, it's a genuine time capsule. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll walk through the story of Cinderella exactly as it's told in these old pages. And then we're going to zoom out and see what this penny toy book, tells us about the world it came from. Okay, before we get to the royal ball, let's get our terms straight. A penny toy book it was exactly what it sounds like. A mass-produced illustrated book for kids that cost just 1 penny. You can basically think of it as the paperback of the Victorian era. It was a total game changer and making stories and reading available to just about everyone.
All right, let's crack it open. The story kicks off pretty much how you'd expect with our heroine. The language is a bit formal, a little old-fashioned, but you can instantly recognize the bones of the story we all know. So the setup is right there on page 1. We have a good, dutiful daughter whose world gets completely flipped upside down by a proud and haughty stepmother and her 2 awful daughters. And notice that last point. This version really emphasizes Cinderella's patience. It frames her as this perfect model of quiet endurance, which was a huge virtue back when this was published. And then, boom, the invitation arrives, a grand ball. And just look at this illustration. It's so faint, like a little ghost of an image from over a century ago. The text specifically says that all persons of quality were invited. It's a tiny little clue into the social hierarchy of the time. And of course, Cinderella gets left behind. But we all know who's coming to the rescue, don't we? Just as Cinderella is crying, her godmother, who happens to be a fairy, shows up. And this is where the magic really kicks into high gear. And it's all detailed, step by step.
Now, this is what I find so cool, the incredible detail, which you can see laid out right here. A pumpkin becomes a coach, 6 mice become horses, classic stuff. But get this, 2 rats become the coachman and postilion, and 6 lizards become the footmen. This version gives us such a wonderfully weird and specific magical menagerie. It's just so vivid. And then we get to the most iconic item of them all. But just listen to this description. They're not just glass slippers. No, they were woven of the most delicate spun glass, fine as the web of a spider. Wow. That is such a beautiful and fragile image. It just adds this whole new layer of wonder to the story, doesn't it? So she gets to the ball, and everyone is just stunned. The prince, of course, is immediately hooked. This illustration here shows them together, and the book says the king and queen were just as charmed as their son was. She was an absolute sensation. The night is a total dream, but remember, the godmother had one crucial warning. You have to be home by midnight. And, we all know that time tends to fly when you're dancing with a prince. Here's a fun twist. This version of the story actually has 2 balls. On the first night, she gets away on time, but she goes back the next evening more splendidly dressed than before. And it's on this second night, completely lost in the prince's tender sayings, that she hears the clock strike 12. In her mad dash to escape, the magic just evaporates and she drops that famous slipper. The prince finds the slipper, and he is not messing around. He makes this huge kingdom-wide proclamation. He is going to marry the one person whose foot fits perfectly into this impossibly delicate glass shoe. So after all the ladies of the court fail, Cinderella very timidly asks for her turn. And the text here is just simple and perfect. It slipped on in a moment. And just to rub it in, she pulls the other slipper right out of her pocket. Bam! The godmother appears, the magic dress returns, and her sisters are left begging for forgiveness. And she marries the prince. A happy ending, right? But that is not where our story ends. Because honestly, the tale of the book itself is just as fascinating as the fairy tale in it. So let's close the cover on Cinderella for a second and zoom out to see the world this little book was born into. So, we come right back to that central question. We've seen what's inside, but what does the object itself tell us about its time? Well, to find out, all we have to do is flip it over. This is the back cover.
And this is so revealing. It shows that our little Cinderella story wasn't just a one-off. It was number 29 in a massive, planned series called Routledge's Penny Toy Books. This wasn't just a book, it was a product line. And just look at the sheer variety here. You've got your classic fairy tales, right? Jack and the Beanstalk, Little Red Riding Hood. You've got the essential nursery rhymes like Mother Goose. But then you also have these educational tools. Alphabets for pretty much any theme you can imagine, from the farmyard to the railway. This was a whole library for any kid.
40. That's the number. That's how many different books are listed right here on the back of this one little copy. I mean, this was a massive project. George Routledge and Sons were creating an entire universe of children's literature and selling it all for a penny a pop. So what this all adds up to is basically a quiet revolution. These penny toy books were a democratizing force for literacy and for culture. They showed up right at a time when more people were learning to read, and a growing middle class was hungry for affordable books. For the first time, families who weren't wealthy could actually afford to give their children a library of their own. These books literally shaped the imagination of entire generations.
So when we look at this faded little book, we're seeing so much more than just a fairy tale. We see a revolution in publishing, we see the birth of mass-market children's literature, and it kind of makes you wonder, what are the penny toy books of our time? And how are the stories we tell today, and the ways we're telling them, shaping the generations of tomorrow?